What is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
All right. Sorry to terrify you with that image on the screen. It's the first image that you're going to see. I'm sorry. I know it's really irritating for you. It's irritating for me to look at Justin Trudeau, or as we call him on this channel, Justin Trugina. But anyway, here we are. What is it, Tuesday night? It's Tuesday night, Radio Baloney Live. I am your host, Richie Baloney. So I'm glad I'm back in my home studio. Just got back into town a couple of hours ago. Hastily put this together, and here we are. Hey, Rosie, how you doing? Good to see you. I did have time to take a look at a couple of things you sent over on X, so those will be in the live stream tonight. A couple of things. I didn't have much time to prepare for this, but yeah, thank you for that, and you will see it. Where's everybody else? Like, I missed Friday. I missed Friday, and I was late on Sunday because I had to do a road stream from the road, and now nobody's here. It's like you miss one, and then you're late for one, and then everybody just leaves. I don't know what's going on. I think we have some admonishing to do, Rosie. Serious admonishing. Let's see, Rosie says, I missed Sunday night. You started later than usual. I think, yeah, I did. I had to start at, I think about 8 o'clock, 8 or 9 o'clock, something like that. But did manage to get one in. It was a little rough because I was using my road studio stuff, which is not the same, but there we go. Rosie says, True China, that always gets an applause. Any True China in the chat always gets an applause. We all know that. Well, anyway, what are we doing? What are we doing tonight? So it's not going to be too long of one. As I said, I just got back into town a couple of hours ago. I put this together pretty quick. I'm hoping we'll maybe just do a couple of hours. We're going to talk about Trudeau. We're going to do some Canadian news tonight. We're going to talk about Trudeau is finally admitting that immigration is out of control. I mean, it's not like he didn't know that. He's known it. There's no way he could have, that this insane immigration policy could have just been, just some kind of mistake. Oh, we didn't realize that we brought in way too many millions of people. So he's known all along. And I don't believe any of this that he's saying now that they're cutting back. I actually don't believe any of it will happen. It's certainly not, by the time of the next election. And if they put out some numbers that say, oh, it is happening, we are cutting immigration, I just won't believe them because they've just lied to us. Trudeau has lied to us just over and over and over and over and over again. And I don't see why he'd stop now. But in any case, we're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at some graphs because we love graphs. Another graph there. Even another graph. Wow. Got a lot of graphs. We're going to see Trugina himself lying to us as usual. That'll be fun. What else we got here? Yeah, we've got some CBC. We've got a little bit of stuff. We got some memes going on. There's some DOGE memes right there. We got some DOGE stuff. I'm going to be doing videos on all of the cabinet all of them. Trump's like Matt Gaetz and Tulsi, all of RFK. I'm going to do some videos on all of them and how they're doing and how it's how it's looking for them in terms of actually being approved. But I'm not going to be doing that tonight. And then we've got just some random stuff mixed in here. Some stuff I believe Rosie sent me. I believe you sent me this one, Rosie, here. It's a couple from you in here. And yeah, just some random stuff. So a little bit of Trump derangement, a little bit of that. Look at that. I mean, there's some real Trump derangement right there. Right there. You can tell right away. Let's see. Yeah, just lunacy. We got a bit of Joe Rogan in there. It'll be fun. Don't you worry. We're going to have a good time. So let's see. Let's take a quick look at the chat. Rosie says nasty. Yeah, Trudeau is nasty. That's what you're talking about. I said Miss Sunday was very sad. I know. It was sad. I was sad I didn't see him there. Very sad. Get my photo from Dollywood. I know I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen that. I really wasn't too plugged in while I was away. You know, I was pretty busy, so I haven't, but I'll have to go take a look after the stream. Hey, JJ Nevada, how you doing? He says he just smashed the like button. Well, that's very good. Very good indeed. Let's see. Rosie says just texted radio streamer, told him to get himself online. Yeah, Rosie's awesome. All right. So let's get into this. So yeah, Trudeau's telling us now he's so very sorry. You know, it's not his fault though. The immigration thing, even though he's prime minister and the federal government controls immigration, it's really not his fault that we're in a population trap and there's just way too many people came into Canada and it ruined everything. And like, you have to wait like 80 hours in an emergency room now and nobody can afford to eat or like rent or to buy a house. Not really his fault, even though he's been in power for 10 years now. Not really his fault. Well, let's hear him explain it. This unfortunate series of circumstances.
Immigration. Let's talk about it. In the last two...
Do you know what? We've been talking about it for a long time. Like this channel's been talking about it for a long time. A lot of Canadians have been talking about immigration for a long time. And you know what he said? He said that we were all racists for talking about it, that only racists and bigots and all white supremacists would be concerned about mass immigration overwhelming every institution, every bit of infrastructure in the country. That's what he told us. What does it say here? Canadian from Breaking 911. Canadian PM Trudeau says he will not take any immigrants into Canada for 3 years. Well, that's actually not true. Not to worry, folks. It's not racist, xenophobic, Islamophobic, white supremacist, etc. when a liberal says this. Only when Trump does. Yes. Yep. Let's continue.
2 years, our population has grown really fast, like baby boom fast. And increasingly, bad actors like fake colleges and big chain corporations have been...
Hold on. Bad actors like fake colleges and corporations? Do they control immigration in Canada? Do they control Canadian immigration policy? No, you know what? I'm pretty certain you do, Justin Trudeau. You've been in control of it all. You're responsible for it all. Why are you blaming other people? It's your fault. Oh, I know why he's blaming other people, because he's a liar, because he's a disgrace, because he's an empty narcissist. Let's continue.
And exploiting our immigration system for their own interests. So we're doing something major. We're reducing the numbers of immigrants that will come to Canada for the next 3 years. Today, I'm going to let you in on what happened, where we made some mistakes.
You don't need to let us in. We already know. You let in way too many people. And you didn't make some mistakes. You made a lot of mistakes. In fact, I don't even think they were mistakes. I think it was the plan. I think things went swimmingly well from your perspective. Wonderfully. It's just those stupid idiot Canadians, those bigots, you know, they were complaining about, you know, those 20-hour emergency room visit, 20-hour emergency room waits, and the fact that everything is completely unaffordable now. Let's continue.
And why we're taking this big turn.
Yeah, it goes on for 6 minutes, but I will spare you.
Immigration.
Trudeau says he could have acted faster on immigration changes. Blames bad actors. Those bad actors ruined everything for Trudeau. And let's see, I kind of feel like everything was going perfectly according to plan for Trudeau. You know, it's just that people realized finally, the corporate media, which is subsidized by the Trudeau government, which means the taxpayers, there came a point where they couldn't sell his lunacy any longer. The people just weren't willing to buy it anymore, and he plummeted in the polls and is, at this point, no matter what he does, he's certain to lose in the next election in October. Probably won't be till October next year. But I don't think any of this was a mistake. I think it was the plan. Clearly, it was the plan. The mass immigration clearly was the plan. Like, what's going on here? So let's see, 2015. That's 2013, 2014, 267,000 new permanent residents. 2014, 2015, 240,000 new permanent residents, which is a lot of immigration for Canada. Trudeau gets in. 2015, 2016, jumps up immediately. What, about 80,000 there? 70, 80,000 there. And then we keep going until we just get to 493,000, 468,000. Insane numbers. A massive jump. This doesn't include all of it, by the way. Let's see. Temporary foreign workers. They need places to live. They need healthcare. Let's see. This only goes up to 2022. Shows that under 700,000 there. It did get up as high as 750,000. Let's see. When did Trudeau get into power? 2015. There we go. It's just a big rise. And then just an insane rise. An insane rise. It was all just, I guess, a mistake. All just a mistake. They didn't realize what they were doing. What's going on here? Number of study permit holders with a valid permit in Canada from 2000 to 2022. So these are foreign students. Also need places to live, healthcare, all of that. They buy things. That's a driver of inflation. Let's see. Trudeau gets into power 2015, 352,000. As of 2022, and it's higher than that now, 807,000. Well, that's a pretty big jump, over more than double. All just a big misunderstanding, I guess. Trudeau says he could have acted faster on immigration changes, blames bad actors. He could not have acted faster because then he wouldn't have been Trudeau. Right? If Trudeau had acted faster on immigration changes, he wouldn't have been Trudeau, and none of this would have been a problem in the first place. It's not like immigration wasn't already high before. It was, but it wasn't insane levels high. You know, the thing is that when you leave yourself a little bit of leeway to stop before it's catastrophic, before you've got generational problems, that's a good plan. Like, you leave yourself at least a little bit of room so you can back off and say, hold on, okay, now we can responsibly stop and reassess and perhaps, do something different. Trudeau's just like, nope, just the max. Most damage possible. Heedless and insane. He blames the bad actors. The bad actors that he blames aren't responsible for immigration. He is. His government is. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the federal government could have acted faster on reining in immigration programs after blaming bad actors for gaming the system. The responsibility lies with you, Justin Trudeau. Trudeau released a nearly 7-minute video on YouTube Sunday talking about the recent reduction in permanent residents being admitted to Canada and changes to the temporary foreign worker program. Well, there's small changes that aren't actually going to help anything. Over the next 2 years, the permanent residency stream is being reduced by about 20% to 365,000 in 2027. Okay, that's gradually going down to that, which is still too much. What will it be in 2025? It'll be 395,000 in 2025. So the big cut, a 21% decrease to 395,000, that ought to solve everything, huh? Let's see. What were we the year that Trudeau got in? 2015, 240,000. So let's see. By my math, that's about another. That's still his reduction is still what, 155,000 more. Well, thanks, Trudeau. Thanks. That's still an insane amount. That's not going to fix anything. That's going to make things worse a little bit slower. That's going to. It's still the road to catastrophe. It's just slightly slower. Jeez. It's maybe the journalist who wrote this at CTV News could point that out. It's not that hard. I mean, it really didn't take me that long to find the graphs and stuff. Let's see. In the video, Trudeau talks about the need to increase immigration after pandemic lockdowns ended in order to boost. In the video, Trudeau talks about the need to increase immigration after pandemic lockdowns ended in order to boost the labor market, saying the move helped avoid a full-blown recession. No, it didn't actually. It was all about cheap labor, providing cheap labor. That's it. The people before the pandemic were ready to go back to their job. We didn't need to bring in a bunch of temporary foreign workers, or anybody for that matter. We would have been fine. Helped avoid a full-blown recession. Well, okay, what about the insane explosion in housing costs? Because there's simply not enough people to stay. It's supply and demand, right? It's supply and demand. More people trying to get the same thing. In this case, housing, apartments, houses, townhouses, whatever. Costs are going to go up. If there's not enough for everybody, things are going to go way up. Of course, it applies to everything else as well. Food, everything else. After that, Trudeau says some bad actors took advantage of these programs. Bad actors. We saw that, some saw that as a profit to game the system. We saw way too many large corporations do that. Well, then why did you let them do it? You control it. The corporations don't control immigration. How does he expect anybody to believe this? He should. Who are his advisors exactly? Okay, we know that you're responsible for it. You can't blame the corporations. You allowed them to do it. You worked with them to do it. You provided them with an enormous amount of cheap labor, much of it subsidized by the Canadian taxpayers, so that Canadians had to pay to be replaced in the workplace by foreigners. It's all just complete lunacy. Let's see. The number of temporary workers and international students will also see reductions. By 2026, the number of temporary foreign workers is expected to drop by over 40%. It should be dropping to 0%. Same with permanent residents. Should all be dropping to 0%. We're in a population trap right now. This is not going to help. All right. We could stem the bleeding right now by making it 0, and then trying to find a solution from there. Try to catch up to this massive population that we've grown by. Try to catch up to this massive increase in population. By 2026, the number of temporary foreign workers is expected to drop by 40%. Not enough, should be 0. And the target for international students will decrease by 10%. Wow, 10%. Like, this isn't helping. It all needs to go to nothing. It all needs to go to 0. Number of international students, look, 800,000. Trudeau came into office, it was 352,000. That's a more than doubling. 10%, so 80,000 less. So what, 725,000 still? That's still a massive record. That's still far more than double what it was when Trudeau came into office. Who believes this shit? I mean, for one thing, I don't believe any of it will happen, right? Because the Trudeau government is incapable of doing anything quickly. And you've got an election coming up at the latest October, so less than a year now. I don't believe any of it's going to happen. This is just a desperate attempt to try and somehow cling back to maybe claw back to minority government status or something. That's all this is. None of this is going to happen. And the second he got back into office, he'd immediately ramp it up again. I mean, this shit didn't happen by accident. This is a plan. This isn't, oh, geez, I guess we took our eye off the ball. I guess we just didn't realize how many people came. We're only the federal government or something. I don't know. Like, none of this is an accident. None of this is, oh, well, I guess I guess that's what he's saying. Oh, well, I guess we just kind of messed up. Shucks. None of this is a mess up. This is all intentional. This is just as intentional as with the Biden administration in the States or immigration in the UK. None of this is an accident. None of this is and what kind of an excuse is that, by the way? Oh, well, we just took our eye off the ball, I guess. Shucks, we should have paid more attention. What? Trudeau says he could have acted faster on immigration changes. Blames bad actors. What? That's not accountability. What the fuck does that mean? We made some mistakes, Trudeau says, as Canada backtracks on liberal immigration plans. We made some mistakes. It wasn't mistakes. They knew exactly what they're doing, and they're doing it. And they kept doing it until it wasn't tenable anymore. Until it made it so that it was impossible, without doing something, to win another election. Of course, they won't win anyway. Canadians have had enough. I do not believe there's any chance that Trudeau gets reelected in a minority or anything. Muchjoy says he's an actor. Yeah, I don't think he's not working for the Canadian people. I think that he is like a UN or like a WEF actor, I think. He's not working for Canadians. Don't forget, this is the man who said that Canada has no core identity. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine getting elected to be the leader of a country and saying that country has no core identity? Can you imagine a country actually electing that asshole again? I know, it's fucking unbelievable, isn't it? Let's see, what else did he say? He said Canada was the first post-national country. First post-national country. Didn't ask any of us, by the way. He just decided that for us. We have no core identity and we're a post-national country. What? He's not working for Canadian people. I'll tell you, he's working for Klaus Schwab. I don't know. Something like that, I think. We made some mistakes. Okay, that's not good enough. Actually, the only thing that's good enough is for you to fucking resign right now. Get out. We know this was all on purpose. We know none of this is going to do anything. None of this is enough. It should all be dropping to zero immediately. And again, like, who would believe he's actually going to do any of this before the next election? It's just bullshit. It's just more lies. Don't believe a word of it. The second he got if he were to get reelected, the second he did, he would immediately ramp everything back up again. You see these lines here that have gone crazy under him? Like temporary foreign workers, international students, immigration, permanent residents. They're going to go right back to that and further up because he's not working for the well-being of the Canadian people. It's obvious if he were, none of this would have happened in the first place because they knew, they were warned. I mean, they were warned about the housing shortage in Canada that was resulting from the mass immigration. And the thing is, you shouldn't even need to be warned, right? I'm sure they've got, people working on logistics on every aspect of Canadian life and the economy all the time. But you've just, anybody with common sense shouldn't need to be warned. You should just know. It should just be obvious. Okay, we got it. Here's how many housing units do we have? How many apartments do we have? How many police do we have? How many hospital beds per 10,000 people do we have? All of this stuff. It's all stuff that if you're a responsible leader that actually cared about the people, this is all stuff that you'd want to know and that you would know and you'd insist on knowing and you'd demand to know. So I don't believe a word that comes out of this liar's face because he's proven himself to be a liar and he's proven himself to be untrustworthy. Anyway, that's the end of my rant on Justin Trudeau. What are you guys saying in the chat? Who do we got in here? Hold on. Are there any ads for me to read yet? Nope. We need a few more people. Let's see. Let's do the roll call. Let's see who's in here. All right, we got Radio Streamer in the chat. Good to see ya. All right. Let's see. We got Rumbum in the chat. Good to see ya. Rumbum saying, what's this, covering Canadian issues at the start? Hell yeah. Well, we'll be doing a lot more of it. Like, when the U.S. election was such a massive deal, right? And important for Canada too, like very important for Canada, very important for the entire world, and for, just the status of sanity worldwide, not to mention, Western civilization. But it was so big, I kind of had to kind of put the Canadian stuff on the back burner, but we'll be hitting lots of Canadian stuff from here on out, especially if we end up with like an election coming up in the spring or something. Let's see what else we got going on here. Rosie says, thought True China said 3 years. Well, it's a 3 years, to my mind, slight reduction in it. He's not stopping immigration for 3 years. It's a slight reduction, which is still far higher than it was when he took office. Far higher. Why doesn't CBC, Global News, Canadian Legacy Media, why don't they point this out? They don't seem very interested in pointing that out. It's like, hey, actually, these cuts, these substantial cuts that the CBC tells us about are not so substantial. They're still way higher than it was when Trudeau took office. Maybe they could do that. Why do I have to be the one who says this, who brings this to people's attention? Why is that? Let's see. So we got Much Joy in the chat. Good to see ya. He's saying, did you guys hear he is in some P. Diddy videos? Oh, Trudeau in some P. Diddy videos. Do you know what? It wouldn't surprise me, quite frankly. But, well, we'll see. I mean, wouldn't that be something if that came out? CBC would still forgive him, right? They forgave him after the blackface thing. And by the way, the blackface thing, Trudeau's blackface thing, the fact that there's so many pictures of him in blackface, and he did it so many times, he actually said with a straight face that when asked, how many pictures are there of him with blackface on? He said with a straight face that, well, he didn't want to say, because if he gave a number and then it was more than that, it would make it look like he was lying. Would make it look like he was lying.
I have a slight learning disability.
Everything he does makes it look like he's lying because he's always lying. Let's see. Let's see. JJ Nevada says, need to ship him out. Look, there's a lot of temporary foreign workers, students who have overstayed their visas and they have to go. There was no agreement that, I mean, the Trudeau government lured a lot over here saying that, well, it's an easy path to permanent residency and citizenship, but not a guarantee. And I'm sorry, the rest of Canada didn't agree to any of this shit. So just got to go. Like, we have a serious problem. We have serious housing crisis in Canada. You got like seniors that are living in tents at this point. Like, it's crazy. It's insane how much damage Justin Trudeau has done to this country. It's it really shocks the conscience. And to see him so glib about it now, we made a few mistakes. Well, we made a few mistakes. Not really our fault. We're just trying to help everybody. No, he's not. He's trying to hurt everybody. But I'll tell you who's not trying to hurt everybody. Positive. If you have a dog, we've all been there. Our pup goes from full of energy to sick and miserable in an instant. And at the worst times, you know what I'm talking about. Then we're calling vets in the middle of the night or on weekends, trying to find a clinic that will take us in. That's no fun. It's a terrible way to manage your dog's health, not to mention your stress levels in these troubled times and your monthly budget. That's why people are getting the Pet Emergency Kit by Positive. That's PAWSITIVE, Positive. See what they did there? It contains critical medications and supplies that can not only keep you out of the veterinary office, but may even save your dog's life. Their kits contain critical medications like activated charcoal, styptic powder, and more. It might save your dog's life. Head over to positive.com and use code STUDIO. Don't forget, code STUDIO to get 15% off your pet emergency kit. Your pet emergency kit, positive.com, code STUDIO. You know what to do. Your dog will thank you. There we go. There's that ad. There's that sweet ad read everybody's been waiting for. Let's see. Right, we got lots of chat going on here. Boy, it's going to take me a little while, but I don't mind because I'm kind of tired. And I was traveling all day today, and so this is good. This is good. I want to read these. Let's see. Let's back up a little bit. You know what? I know somebody's going to mention it up there. I should have mentioned something about protecting your dogs from the commies in that positive ad. I got to remember to do that next time because those commies. Well, we found out what they want to do with your pets with the whole tragic tale of Peanut and Fred the raccoon, right? Yes, we did. Radio Streamer says, more commie hate. I knew it. Let's see. Rosie makes a great point here. Commies invented autocorrect. Yep. And update now. Well, we don't talk about the U word on this channel, but good point. Good point. And commies did invent all of it. Absolutely. Let's see. Rosie says, how does immigration prevent a recession and not also cause inflation? Why? What is the plan? Destruction of a country and culture. Why? Yeah, I think that's it. I think well, for one thing, it's cheap labor. And Trudeau told us, he just unilaterally decided for Canada that now we're a post-national country somehow, and there's no core identity. So this was part of his goal of really making that a reality, of reshaping Canada in the image that he prefers. Cheap labor and no national character. JJ Nevada says, only mistake made was putting son of Castro Trujillo in charge in the first place. You know, here's the thing. Even under Harper, who was just an infinitely better prime minister than Trudeau, but even under Harper, this was all, like, the immigration was already too high at that point. Like, there were foreign temporary workers, but it was in the tens of thousands then, not in the hundreds of thousands. There were a lot of foreign students, but not in the numbers not even close. I mean, like 40%, 35, 40%, maybe 30% of the numbers that we've seen with Trudeau. So we're already, I think, at that point pushing things a bit in terms of, sustainability of our infrastructure. And inflation as well. But the thing is that when it's still kind of incremental, you give yourself time to recognize the mistake before it gets far too late, before you've caused real generational problems, stuff that won't be fixed in 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years, right? Problems that are going to stick with you for decades, right? You give yourself time to fix it. Trudeau again, this is why I don't believe a word he says. Trudeau went all in. He wanted to ram through as much as possible while he had the chance so that it was irreversible. So yeah, big mistake was putting True China in. True China. Even though we were already heading, I think, in the wrong direction already in terms of just too much of everything. But yeah, Trudeau took away that possibility that we might be able to adjust things in a positive way within a reasonable time frame. That's just gone now. Much Joy says, reading a script from his handlers. Yeah. Well, he ain't working for the Canadians, I'll tell you that much. Let's see. All right, I'm going to have to skip to the end of these chats now because we got a ton. We got Pastor Rapture in the chat. Good to see you. Let's see. Protect your pets from the ATF. Invest in a forced reset trigger, or better yet, an actual machine gun. Liberty smells like burnt smokeless powder. All right. He means business. Let's see. Much Joy says actors are paid to lie. Yeah, Trudeau. Who is Trudeau? Who is he? Radio Streamer says positive. A commie wouldn't have a health kit for their dog. No, they certainly wouldn't. Let's see. Radio Streamer says positive. Better than my old Yeller health plan. Considerably better. I mean, I guess sometimes you got to go old Yeller, but not unless you absolutely have to. Rumbum says code studio to help your beloved pets and fight against the commies. 100%. Radio Streamer says 9.5 out of 10. Great read. Needs at least a little commie hate. That's the problem there. I realized after the ad read that there was no commie hate in it. So yeah, a failure on my part, I would say. But Rosie still gives me a 9.9 out of 10. Great emphasis on the positive. Still smile more. I will try. I'm not perfect. I'm imperfect. Deeply imperfect. I'm deeply flawed. Let's see. Nevada says UN stands for. Well, I'm not going to say that. We don't use the U word on this channel. Let's all right, let's move on. Let's see, what do we got here? Okay, so this is kind of following on the tails of this immigration thing. There's Rosemary Barton. She's on the CBC. CBC gets at $1.4 billion from the federal government to operate every year. It is state media. And this is just so typical. So from Brian Lilly, who's a good Canadian journalist, works for the Sun newspapers, I believe. Yeah, Toronto Sun. He writes this: what fresh hell is this? Rosie Barton arguing that Canada has a moral duty. I'm really sick of politicians telling us what our moral duties are, because usually it's just things they like and has nothing to do with a moral duty. A moral duty to take in people who will be deported from the United States for breaking the law and entering that country illegally. I don't think this reflects the typical Canadian opinion on immigration these days, but what does she care? You know, that $1.4 billion rolled in this year.
So we think that the Safe Third Country Agreement, which, as you noted, was a game changer in terms of closing what had been a loophole at Roxham Road. Yeah. It's allowed us literally to turn back thousands of people into the United States who've shown up at border crossings. We think that the legal basis of that agreement is very solid. And we don't think it's necessarily reasonable to pretend that the American judicial system and the rule of law in the United States is something that can't be relied upon. So people can challenge an agreement if they want in court. We have every confidence the court will uphold this agreement, which has been in place for a very long time. And as you
Sure.
said,
Yeah.
we have to wait and see specifically what the incoming administration.
Let's do a little fact check on just what the safe third country agreement is. So hold on one second. Fact check. All right. Canada US Safe Third Country Agreement. Safe Third Country Agreement remains in effect. Let's see. People entering Canada from the US along the land border are still not eligible to make a refugee claim. Will be returned to the US until they meet one of the relevant exemptions or exceptions under the STCA. Changes to the Safe Third Country Agreement. On March 24th, 2023, Canada and the United States announced the expansion across the entire land border, including internal waterways. Let's see. What are the exceptions to the agreement? Exceptions to the agreement consider the importance of family unity, the best interests of... So exceptions to the agreement consider the importance of family unity, the best interests of children, and the public interest. There are 4 types of exceptions: family member exceptions, unaccompanied minor exception, document holder exception, public interest exceptions. All right, so that's what they're talking about. Let's go back here again.
May do, but we have confidence the agreement will survive that.
Oh, okay, but from a moral perspective, if you see there is a mass deportation happening in the United States.
Okay, you're not the moral voice of the country, Rosemary Barton. Nobody gave you that. Nobody appointed you the moral voice of Canada, right? We don't want to know what you think is our moral obligation. We don't give a shit. In fact, we're sick of fucking paying your salary, right? We want the CBC gone. We want it defunded. If it can survive on its own and continue to pay you whatever they're paying you, fine. That's all right. Okay, at that point, fine. And say whatever the hell you like, right? But when it's $1.4 billion that the federal government is giving you, it just seems like state media at that point. In fact, it just seems like propaganda, government propaganda at that point. Moral obligation. Who asked you? Nobody asked you. I don't feel a moral obligation. I think that Canada's full. Okay, maybe you can tell us about some sad stories. Okay, here's the problem. Reality. Canada's full, can't take any more people. Canada's in bad shape, regardless of how you feel about it, Rose, regardless of how sad it makes you, regardless of how your maternal instincts feel about it, right? Maybe you want to be, the mother savior of all of these people. Okay, but I don't. Rest of us don't. Canada's been pretty clear. Have you taken a look at the polls, Rosie? People are not okay with this anymore. We don't want any more. You're not the moral voice of us. In fact, Canadians don't like CBC and they don't watch it. So maybe keep that conversation for one of your nice CBC dinner parties after the show. We're not interested.
How reasonable is it for Canada to assert under that agreement that the United States is safe for everyone?
So again, we have no reason to think the United States won't remain a safe jurisdiction. We have a lot of confidence in this agreement, Rosemary. It's very hypothetical.
What does she mean by that? Safe? Like it's unsafe in that they can't just break in and just stay there forever? Especially if they've committed crimes, aside from the initial crime of just entering the country illegally. What does this mean? This is that elitist, this Canadian elitist, smug attitude towards the United States. And Trump is taking, the orange man is taking over. Is the United States even safe anymore? I mean, just for anybody. Is it safe for anyone? Won't somebody think of the criminals. I think that's really the moral voice of the CBC. Anyway, let's continue.
Hypothetical to imagine these sort of widespread scenarios, but the United States is a long-standing ally of Canada. There's a well-entrenched rule of law. The judiciary is independent. There's a system of procedural and constitutional protections in the United States that have existed for longer than in Canada. So we have every confidence that their system remains robust and fair.
It's just that smug, elitist, suicidal empathy of the champagne socialist at the CBC and the, Canadian cultural and media elite. It's grotesque. We've had enough. Defund the CBC if they can't make it on their own, which they won't because they're terrible. They can't make it on their own. Turn, you know what? They could do? Here's some social justice for the CBC. Turn their headquarters into low-income housing. That's what Pierre Poilievre said, and I think that would be a beautiful thing. Then they could really make a difference, a moral difference. What are you guys saying? Let's go to, while I check out the chat, let's, I just wanted to show you this fence video. It's one of my favorite videos of fences that I've seen, actually. I like videos about fences, and this one really caught my eye for some reason. I don't know why. Just liked it. It's a lot of fun. Let's see. I can't read another ad for another 4.5 minutes. Can you believe it? I think you guys are bummed out. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. Pastor Rapture says Trudeau is nothing more than another meat puppet with the hand of Soros up his ass, running his mouth. Well, he does say the sorts of things that Soros would like. So I think you might be onto something there. Let's see. Pastor Rapture says, what do politicians know about morals? Nothing. At least most of them. They're not all bad. There's some decent ones. There's even some decent left-wing ones, right? Who are not just total empty husks of human beings, just totally, moralless or conscienceless, propaganda robots. Rosie says, how dare she take my name in vain and speak so inaccurately? She doesn't deserve the name Rosie. She doesn't. If it was up to me, if I became the Emperor of Canada, which I would love, by the way, I would definitely change her name to something else. Bertha. Let's see. Rosie says, lurkers need to hit like. Yeah, absolutely. Better yet, come say hello in the chat. You can just say hello from Tennessee or wherever. That's the thing about the chat here. I have the best chat on the internet, I believe. It's the most welcoming chat. It's super fun. Everybody loves it. The water's great. Oh, you know what? I think it's time now. We're only 48 minutes in, but I think it's time to cut the YouTube stream short. Just because of censorship reasons. They've been demonetizing my videos again recently. And I mean, every single YouTube video, like the last, I think the last one I let it run for the whole 3.5 hours. Not the last one, not this Sunday, but I think the one before that. And it was just, the next day, it was just like 80, like totally frivolous copyright claims that I had to fix and erase things. And the whole thing was just it's a giant waste of time. And it's just no point in, if I run it, if I let it run for 50 minutes, an hour or something, there'll be maybe just a couple of things I have to deal with. So it's really not even worth my time. And barely any people see it on YouTube, even compared to my regular videos. So it's really not worth it. So I'll let it. Yeah, we're 50 minutes in. You know what? I'm going to have to shut down the YouTube part now, but we're going to continue on Rumble. So if you're on YouTube right now, join us on Rumble. The water's fine. Everything's great. You're going to really like it. And we're not going to have any censors looking over our shoulders. Anyway, if we don't see you on Rumble now, hopefully we'll see you on Friday. But we're going to continue on Rumble right now. But bye-bye, YouTube. There's that.